Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for patiently waiting as we start our meeting tonight. Now call this meeting to order. This is the board meeting for the Wiseburn Unified School District for September 17th, 2022. And again, thank you all for coming. Thank you to our teachers starting the school year. Thank you very much to our staff, to our administration, to our volunteer board members here tonight, and anybody who may be watching live or on tape. So thank you for joining us. We have a regularly scheduled meeting tonight. We have one special presentation from our maintenance and operations director, Jonathan Nava. Thank you, wherever you are. There you are. Nice to see you, sir. We have some exciting district administration hirings that are in the room, so thank you for being here. And some exciting tentative agreements with the Wiseburn Faculty Association as well. So good stuff on the agenda. May we have a motion to adopt the agenda, please? Motion. Thank you.
Second.
Second. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. With that, let's move now to the flag salute. Dr. Ingram, would you be so kind?
Right hand over your head. Ready to begin. The pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will move shortly to public comments, but before we do, as always, we have our section of the website, Share Your Thoughts. We did get a few thoughts this since our last board meeting. Some communication clarity on back to school night, which hopefully I believe has been covered.
Yes, I hope so too.
Thank you. Some comments further seeking diversity, which is a continuing goal of the organization, and some offerings from fundraising activity that we will pass on to both the administration, potentially our foundation. So thank you for those comments. Wendy, do we have any public comments tonight?
This time I don't have any.
All right, then we will move along to our action items, section 4. And I believe 4.1, we'll do these individually. Number 4.1, approve assistant superintendent administrative services and CBO. This is an exciting moment.
It is very exciting. And, you know, I think that we know that they really wanted to stay for the entirety of this agenda. Move them to the front so they get approved and then can stay for the agenda. No, I'm just teasing. So I'm going to speak on 4.1, assistant superintendent administrative services. Jason Hasty's with us here today. So really excited about bringing on a new member of the cabinet administrative team, our leadership team, someone who has, you know, a lot of vision. He's worked for LACO for lots of years in various roles. Had the privilege of taking classes with him back 15 years ago or so. But in his time at LACO, he's been in ed programs. He's worked through the Lcaf. He's been in the human resources department. Also finished business finance administration from the University of Educational Business Finance at University of Southern California. So really, really excited that Jason decided to submit his application, and looking forward to working with him as part of the team. So we'll turn it over to the board to take the next step.
We need a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger and Joanne. Approve our assistant superintendent administrative services and CBO. All in favor? Aye. Congratulations and welcome.
Right on.
Yeah, I just can't tell you how honored I am, and I'm sure this is on. It's on. Okay, but yes, this has been a dream of mine, just working in this area, working, you know, for Wiseburn for a long time. Lived in El Segundo for 6 years. I'm PV now. I mean, you know, the community around here just means a lot to me, and what you guys are doing as a board and in the district. And I'm just excited that I can bring my skill set to the table and really support. And I look forward to helping this district do the great things that they're already doing and making it better. And hopefully this will just be, you know, the start of something more than you can imagine. So I'm excited. So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. And I really look forward to our work together.
Are you comfortable with a handshake?
I'm totally comfortable with it.
Shake your hand.
Here.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Welcome.
Jason,
Just like the other.
Again, congratulations. The good news continues. Item 4.2, approve special education project director / principal. May I have a motion, please? Motion. Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Dr. Shutoff.
Sure, if you were, Dr. Dougal, just comments prepared.
I'm actually very excited and honored to welcome Samuel Coleman as the Special Education Project or Special Education Director and SLC Principal. Samuel comes to us with a lot of experience, special education teacher from Rialto Unified. Before or after that was a site administrator with LACO, as well as most recently was a interim principal and special education coordinator for the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools. Through the interview process and also speaking with Samuel's references, we learned a lot about him. He's very innovative with educational technology, so we're excited to bring that to our students here. Has varied experience with special education students, and most importantly, is skilled with building relationships with all stakeholders. So his references had great stories to tell about building relationships with parents and with students and colleagues and staff members. And so we are grateful for that experience and bringing that to the SLC. And so we look forward to Dr. Coleman serving as the Special Education Project Director and Principal of SLC.
You know what I learned too, Dr. Goldman, is he's a history buff, so a little bit like me, and we in the interview, he was sharing some real interesting information on some historical events. But no, I mean that there's a lot of energy, enthusiasm. Just really excited to have an opportunity to work with Samuel. So good. Turn it over.
Fantastic. Well, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Of course not. It's back. The SLC is a very important part of what we do here, and we are privileged to have you leading it. So thank you very much for joining our team, and we're privileged to have you here. If you're not a handshaker, it's no fun. If you are, we love to shake your hand. There's a smart man. And you're welcome to say a word or two if you'd like.
I just wanted to address the board. Thanks for this opportunity. I wanted to mention three things just really briefly. I was truly impressed with the history of this place. You know, it forming back in 1896, I was just blown away. That really impressed me.
We age well.
But I'd say the other thing that impressed me, and again, this is no apple polishing. The fact that all of you are well tenured and committed to this district. I was very impressed because that really speaks to governance and the long-term vision for the district. And the thing that really put the cherry on the top is your commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, to the point where you've assigned someone to do that work. So that lets me know that this is a really good place to hang my hat. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Both of you had good news this meeting, so congratulations again. Thank you. Special presentation 5.1, a special presentation on our maintenance and operations update. Mr. Nava, you want to come up, and Dr. Silvers?
Yeah, I think really want to thank Jonathan for the work that he's done over the summer, leading up to the summer and over the summer. And we're going to take a look at some of the projects, and I won't do it justice. So I really just want to thank him and the team. I think the team has just been incredible. And if you've been around our campuses and taken a look at our campuses, schools, classrooms, they just look amazing. And so thank you, Jonathan, for that, and look forward to seeing the presentation.
First, I want to thank the board and cabinet members for allowing me the opportunity this past year to showcase my abilities and to lead this great facilities department. So again, I want to thank you for that. So first off, we'll hit custodial. Of course, we went ahead and did our deep cleaning, pressure washing exterior, dove into the deep floor care. We have such a great custodial department here. I've been a part of 3 of them, and I can tell you this one is great. They truly take pride in their work and it showcases in our facilities. We don't have new facilities, but they are in great condition because of our staff members. You'll see our floors practically looks wet at Cabrillo. That's some of the whitest grout I've seen in a restroom. I'll tell you what, that was I was ready to hang my hat because like I've seen it all at that point. White grout in a restroom, there's no way. And Mr. Jose Briseño cleaning till the very last day of summer, trying to get Anza ready since we had summer school there. This team truly cares about our facilities and it shows. So with me, it's about creating a standard and an expectation with our staff so that they're able to showcase their ability. And with that, I presented them the deep cleaning schedule right here. People clean differently and that is okay. They have their own methods, but what's important is that we clean each same item differently, right? And that's creating the standard. And you'll see there, it goes from the top to the bottom, to hit the ceilings, to hit the walls, how to hit the furnitures and how to clean the floors. There's also another page here that shows, it's not on the presentation, but it also breaks down how to clean a restroom, how to clean a kitchen and so forth. So that we're able to walk into a site and expect the same level of cleanliness throughout. As I mentioned in our previous board meeting, I went ahead and did a daily custodial schedule, again, to set that standard for either our permanent staff or a substitute to come in and least affect the next day for instruction. And I feel that's most important. So each custodian will be equipped with a daily schedule, and that breaks down their area and what to hit in the classrooms daily, weekly, and monthly, and as well as the restrooms, again, daily and weekly. And again, that sets the standard that we hope to achieve and surpass at Weisburn. To the right of it is an emergency shutoff map. For example, there is the main electrical shutoff for Dana. And that will be the key to access that so that if anything were to happen, they know where to access their electrical, where to access their water. In case of a main break, they can go themselves, shut it off, and then we can address it the following day.
Jonathan, as you're going through, question for you.
Yes.
Is there also a training program that goes with that? Like who's authorized to do those shut-offs?
So-
Are you also training the custodians as well?
Yeah, so with that, as soon as the rest of our staff, because right now about half of our team has those maps in hand, as long as the rest of them, as soon as the rest of them get them, they'll go ahead and I'll do the walkthrough with them and how to do it. It's kind of like just setting off a regular breaker. It's right there, just a larger handle to shut off the electrical, which pliers or a wrench to use to turn off the gas, and the water is kind of just turning it until it shuts it off. Yeah, so I'll be the one to go ahead and show the custodial how to do that.
Do we have that for each of the respective school sites?
Each site, each custodian.
I would recommend that we consider having a map like that with all the shut-off valves,
Mhm.
that full gas water at the school sites, like online somehow. So that anybody can turn to it in an event of emergency, just in case, obviously, no staff is not around. So.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely do a Google Doc and have all admin on it. So
I want to make sure we answered. Was your question too about training? So just in the shut off, or was it in general? Were you asking?
This is the process for emergency shut-offs, which I think Jonathan answered. I think it does guide them through that.
This actually brings up an even larger question. A lot of times principals go to conferences and somebody's there in their stead, there's a second in command in a school and so on. And maybe that person's even gone at some other event. And so what you bring up is so important for safety in terms of the site itself, the people who are at the site and so on. So I'm wondering if it's a bigger question, and certainly not yours to answer, but just in general, is do we have a set of emergency procedures in each office at each school that someone could turn to for an emergency call, for turning off water, for,
sounding alarms of some sort.
We certainly have the safety reports for every school, but the question is, this specifically.
Yeah, I would like one sheet that has everything on it.
Yeah.
In terms of sort of a line item by line item list of what is available to do in case of this, that, or the other thing in the office.
Yeah, so I'd say no, we don't. We should. We do have a set of emergency protocols, and yes, I think that, but you bring up a good point, Joanna. I think maybe every office should have some sort of step-by-step guide. So let's maybe try and work on putting something together. I can,
It's not a criticism. This is something we're learning together because these are such important things and we take for granted that, oh, in case there's a problem, the principal will be there and take care of it. Well, what if not?
Right.
And so it doesn't have to be a phone book size.
Mhm.
Used to be a phone book. We don't use it.
We have the phone book. Well, we need
Yeah, we have the phone book.
We have the phone book.
What we need
Yeah.
sort of emergency thing to do.
maybe it's laminated and on.
Yeah,
the sec- yeah.
it's just in the office. Where it is.
And that map that you have, you can use
Yeah.
your company.
Yes.
It's a good place to have it like in the front office. But then to the point that Roger said is you can have it, but there's gotta be some training so people are informed. Right. Exactly.
So your information would definitely be part
Right.
of this sort of greater.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you're bringing this up.
Great,
Thank
great.
you. Yeah.
So with moving on, our grounds team, we focused on field restoration, irrigation repair, planter weed control, tree maintenance, and of course, the back wall of our amazing gem Del Air field.
Thank you, thank you.
As you see, we're back to plush green, looking nice. We have a couple of our grounds guys trying out an all-electric mower and just, trying to have fun. Yeah, that's the mean green.
We have a green word for like.
Yeah, that one's the mean green. That's their rival edition. And that one, they loved it, just not hearing the loud mower, things like that. They're just able to jump on it and have fun.
I'm a vibrator and those are like electric cars are something to get used to. Because you don't hear them coming up behind you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so those are.
Yeah. So we were able to go ahead and revive the fields. Some of them got a little too much water. They're now growing at a rapid pace and we're trying to just take them back down and get them safe and playable surface for our AYSO partners.
That Del Air site on the top there.
Yes, that was Del Air and this is Del Air. So the very top is our final outcome. To the left, you see how it was and to the right is how it is. There were a few mounds of dirt that were lining that wall, medium-sized, I guess, trees that were trying to overcome the fence line that we then took back and took as low as possible to maintain a safe area against that wall before it grew too big and started pushing that down.
It's hard to appreciate how much work this was and how big this was. This was a yeoman effort, really terrific work.
Yeah, so we were able to just clean it up and make it, ready for the next step, whichever that may be.
And what about the irrigation repair?
So the irrigation repair, that's a
Irrigation is
deeper
pretty-
dive into that
pretty
field.
low, right?
Yeah, that one, we have valves that are about 3 feet deep. Old pipes that, if we try to fiddle with them, they'll break and it's a bigger mess and just something that we may have to wait on or until we're ready to put the money into it and really go for it. And then across our sites, we have Dana, Anza, and Cabrillo that we planted I believe 1.5 years old trees now. We were able to take them 6 feet off the ground. So they're all standard 6 feet off the ground. We went ahead and upped the water to 2 times every 3 days. And then that will go ahead and yes.
I will, I didn't have to, but since you called, last summer, we redid the irrigation on all these trees. Has it proved itself successful?
Yes. So weekly, we go ahead and we test each sprinkler head and make sure that they're in operating function. Yes. Jumping onto facilities, one of the big ticket items that we realized we had to focus on this summer was our hardscape. And as you see, just a little bit of slurry stripe and some patching just kind of brightens up our driveways and makes it a little more appealing to see against those brown fences. Just a little more color for us. Anza was one of the worst parking lots. They didn't have any visible striping at all. So we went ahead and now people can park and see where they're parking. Yeah, so and then at the SLC, we were able to put in a safe travel path from a classroom to then the lunch or outside learning area. And Dana had quite a few lifting pavers and sinking pavers that our grounds team did jump on and then hit throughout the summer in the dead of the heat. I don't know how they did it, but they did it, their nose down and get the work done. We were also able to break out a few concrete patches and reset them to where they're level and not a tripping hazard. Another item that was all hands on deck for our facilities team was our home base. Our original warehouse was at the very top left, was one bay or one aisle of, I believe, 4 bays of storage and garage racks to the right. And within that space, we had about 14 feet of clearance, and our forklift to move a pallet and to maneuver it. I'm telling you, it was an absolute safety hazard. So I'm glad we were able to relocate our warehouse into the bays over into the shop. As you see to the second picture on top, that was the original grounds storage location. Just tools, a little, just scattered throughout, hard to find things. And then to the far left at the bottom, that is the new warehouse, whereas now we've gained 2 feet of turning space for our forklift. We've added an additional aisle and a half for storage. That not only serves our team, but also helps with, I hate to say it, but storing cumes. Storing cumes and actually having a house to hold our custodial equipment and supplies. And that's huge because now we get to create more closet space at the sites. So instead of having 15 boxes of paper goods in a closet, now we're able to store it for the sites. And then that just just helps out our storage space and mechanical equipment that sometimes get encroached. Great. And then the next picture over to the right in the bottom, sorry, the middle picture at the bottom, that is the original warehouse is now our grounds bay. And we have a grounds closet that is now being utilized as a closet for irrigation and tools. And the top right is the old back parking lot of the shop. I'm sure you guys remember it from the Dana graduation. And we were able to slowly get rid of things and make it into a nice turning area for our trailers, for larger trucks that make deliveries, and make an actual parking lot for our staff.
Significant improvement.
So some things that I hope to happen this year would be, of course, our HVAC upgrades. These past couple of weeks, it was fun running around, going up and down roofs, just trying to put out fires when we can and where we can. So we were able to at least replace one unit, as you see above there, to our units that were installed in 1999. Some of them are still going, but hopefully we're able to implement either a large scale replacement plan or determine upon what happens in the next coming months, a small scale replacement plan. And we'll be able to determine that in the next couple of months at to what scale we'll be able to replace these. And then to the right of it is the Npr Flooring at Anza. That's one that a lot of sites I see are moving towards the luxury vinyl tile look, and that it's low maintenance, high sheen. There's no floor finish. Some of the most dangerous tasks that happen in custodial are either climbing up ladders or doing floor care because of the swinging machines. So with that floor system, we will then eliminate the need to floor finish. That doesn't require any wax, just a wash.
Who will install that?
So depending on how everything goes, it'll be about $60,000 for install with material and install. So we would then contract that out. But yeah, the NPR floor is something that's definitely in need of.
Deferred maintenance
Mhm.
budget. Wouldn't-
Or capital, some sort of capital project.
capital. Thank you.
And then, of course, something that doesn't really affect Ed directly, but I know growing up, one place that I wanted to be at was on the playground. So if we're able to introduce a more lively, colorful system into our blacktop, and that's kind of the same scheme that we would go for right there to the right of it at 138th would be either a small tennis court, a volleyball system, and the basketball court. And of course, those tiles are lifetime tiles unless somebody's trying to dig them out and do the whole bit. But that's something that, you know, hopefully we're able to introduce to our school system and just make it more fun and lively for the kids at Weisberg. And that's something we would install in-house.
Is that pickleball? Where's it? Very popular.
I don't know if you've been around Holly Glen Park lately. It's completely gutted. And it's being completely rebuilt. And it sounds like we're gonna have a chance to do a lot of that kind of good work on our school too, so.
That's fine.
And then again, I wanted to thank our FMO team greatly. I did a quick barbecue for them that last day of summer. Woke up at 4, threw some ribs on the smoker, smoking for about 6 hours, jammed back over here and was able to feed them in time for lunch. But yeah, you know, great. I just want to thank the FMO team for being so great to me my first year here. And I couldn't possibly do it without them.
Any questions?
No, I just want to compliment you on a few different things. One is your positive attitude. Without that sort of positive attitude and encouragement, this is just work. You make it special and you make it meaningful, and you make it important. And it is important. And I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for your leadership and for the accomplishments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John, for your leadership. I'll obviously extend that to your team as you.
Yeah, thank you for all the great work and for letting us know that you're doing all of this. This presentation, we wouldn't know because we're not walking the school sites and seeing all those different components. So thank you for coming to the board today and sharing. And thank you to all the FMO team as well. Thank you.
And you and your team are partners in education. Absolutely part of the process and add to it. So again, thank you for your good work. I echo the comments and well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Moving to district updates, item 6.1, the Wiseburn DV School Partnership. I'll simply share that conversations are progressing. I do want to give a call out, shout out to Matt for his chats with Matt that he's having with the parent committee relative to input to DV School. So thank you, Matt, for doing that. It's my intention to participate in those as an observer, not really an active voice, but an active listener, as we can all learn from the community. So anything else anyone would like to add relative to the conversations and partnership?
Real quick on the facilities and finance, our next meeting is on Tuesday, October 4th. And that's Joanne and I, together with Brian and Joe Weber. And the governance subcommittee is also scheduled to meet, I believe, either the second or third week in October. I don't have the date here with me, but the conversations are continuing as well.
Great.
And I just wanted to mention that, because I live next door to one of the DV board members, we talk a lot about items of interest to all the schools and the students. And he mentioned a conversation he had with Jennifer Hahn at Da Vinci. What's her title? Jennifer? Is she HR? Ed services, that would make sense. Because and it's important, I guess, for Monique, if it's not already happening, is a partnership to review the math curriculum across all grade levels, and especially the flow from Weisburn Elementary and middle school into the high school. So I don't know what sort of arrangements we already have in how we're meeting on that, but there's been a request from Da Vinci to maybe reinforce that or accelerate it or institute it if it's not already there. So I think that was a great ask, and I know it's something we're really interested in as well.
I think we just need to make sure we're talking, I think that we heard, Wendy, what was the comment?
We will do better. All right, well, we will move on then now to information, section 7 from the board.
Dr. Coleman? Just, I don't know if we want to invite some of our guests to either stay.
Yeah,
Or
you are
leave.
welcome to depart. Yes, indeed. We appreciate you being here, appreciate the role you're going to play, and you are free to go. You've done your part, and that's why we had you here early so you could get out. So, thank you very much. Be well, we will see you again. No fire. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Silver. Thank you. From the board, our Vice President, Mr. Martinez.
Thank you, Dr. Goldman. First of all, I just want to welcome the Wiseburn K-8 team back to school. It's back to school time, so I just want to welcome back everyone. And then I just want to take an opportunity again to congratulate Dr. Hasty and Dr. Coleman, and welcome to the Wiseburn team. And then as we kind of start the school year and kind of come back to normal, I think one comment that I did want to make is I just want to make sure that we start bringing back some of those activities back for kids. So I'm talking about hopefully we see the DC trip back, we see the Catalina trip, we see some of these things that are really important to the kids and to the parents and so forth. So that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Nelson. Ms. Manuelos.
Thank you. Likewise, I'd just like to welcome all of our students, their parents, families back for the new school year. Looking forward to it as well. And to resuming activities, as Nelson mentioned, I think it's really important to have the mix of activities as well as all the learning that happens at school sites. Learning also happens when we're away, and opportunities to explore a bit. So welcome everybody back to the school year. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Roger. Ms. Canetta.
Obviously, I want to welcome everyone back as well. I also want to mention that with everyone back in school, so is the traffic. And I want to compliment our crossing guards because they're very brave and they're very focused on managing traffic and access for our families as we head back to school. It's such an intense hour, that sort of half hour before school starts, or maybe 45 minutes, and then the next 15 minutes. It's madness. And so I encourage everyone in the community to be patient, to really pay attention to the crossing guards. I know you are. And most people don't get mad about the crossing guards when they're asked to stop or because people are crossing the street. Some people get very frustrated. So be patient and know that school being back does change the community quite a bit. A lot of our roads are under construction in different parts of the neighborhoods, which is adding to some of the congestion. So just ask for patience and respect for each other and for the process of getting our kids into school safely. With that, once again, thanks to everyone. I know that each school has its own challenges with access and with management of students coming in. So I don't know if there's any comments from the board or staff about changes that we've made this year or improvements that need to be made in some of the original as we've started school. So if there's anything about that, it'd be good to know. But it's mostly what I wanted to say. And the other thing is, I know that we're very focused on the relationship between Wiseburn and Da Vinci, and I want the community to know that that's an active relationship. It's an active process and an active way of working together. So that's it.
Thank you, Joanne. My welcome to everyone. I won't elongate it, but again, welcome back, everybody. welcome to our new teachers, welcome to our new staff. I want to compliment Dr. Silvers and the cabinet for the opening day events. It was a privilege to be invited to be a part of that. It was very fun to see, and the collaboration and the goodwill and the good cheer and the smiles all around is always good to see. I want to thank Connecta for sponsoring that event and for providing the food, and boy, they had a whole group out. It was nice to see them as well, so thank you for that. And I also want to do a shout out to the Wiseman Faculty Association for their continued outreach. I know they have a tradition of inviting the president, not just me, but whoever's the city president, to their welcoming lunch to new employees. And that's just another gesture that's both appreciated, but also a tribute to the relationship that's so important to us, and I know to our teachers and all of our bargaining units and our community, that we're all connected. And I just want to, again, thank you, Liza. Thank you, Chris, for the great work you do and have done for so many years, and for inviting me and us in that process. So thank you very much. With that, we'll turn to our cabinet and go to Ms. Mozzarella. I'll get it right. There we go. Our Director of Psychological Services.
Good evening, everyone. I will keep it short and sweet too. I'm just real thrilled. We've had a great start to the school year. Thanks to Dr. Dougal and to, the generous authorization of the board, we've been able to fully staff classrooms with instructional aides. We've got our teachers fully staffed. It's such a nice relief to have that at the start of the school year. I've enjoyed opening up the SLC as the acting principal. That's been a real fun last 2 weeks. Seriously, it has been. It's been great to be around the kids, and I've enjoyed it. But I am looking forward to having Dr. Coleman on board to run the show and work obviously collaboratively hand in hand with him. And I do want to thank Jonathan. I'm glad you're still here. He really did a great job on the Success Learning Center. There were some spots. We have some students this year with some mobility issues, and we really needed to get those things resolved because they needed to access those spaces outside. And I went one day and I'm like, oh my God, it's not done yet. And the next day I came in, it was done, but he didn't know I did that. But it was like on it, it was ready for school to start. And so thank you, Jonathan, you did a great job. And whenever like I needed a file cabinet, it was like, I turn around and it was there. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, on top of all the other things at the other schools, he's been helping us out a lot at SLC. So I want to thank him. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. Our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Dr. Dougal. You have a number, you're 7.3. There we go.
Good evening, everyone. Quick update from our job fair from August 18th. We actually, item 12.3 on the agenda, there are 17 new instructional aides or playground aid positions, and out of the 17, 15 of those were folks from our job fair that actually came to the job fair. We interviewed them and then placed them at different school sites. So it was a good turnout in terms of just the numbers. The ROI was amazing. So we're gonna. So staffing wise, we're actually doing really well in terms of our classified staff and being almost fully staffed at most of our sites in terms of instructional aides and playground aides and such. And then if we're not, we've got staffing agencies in place for students. So there's no students that are left unattended or without the appropriate services in place. And so all of our students are receiving the appropriate services. My message would not be undone until I talk about COVID. So COVID vaccine clinics are back. They're the cool thing. We have 3 dates set up with Fulgent. And they're all 3 weeks apart. And so we're kind of learning from last year about the 2-week cycle and 3-week cycle and getting boosters and such. So September 23rd is our first one. So next Friday, October 14th, and then the Friday after that would be November 4th. Be on the lookout. We will be sending out the registration link and such, because the newly approved booster for the to target specifically the BA.4 and BA.5 subvariants of the Omicron strand, the new booster is what we'll have in place for everyone. And it's approved, Pfizer's approved for ages 12 plus, Moderna is approved for ages 18 plus. We will have the whole menu of shots available. So we will have regular, pediatric, infant, boosters, primary doses for anyone who hasn't received even their first dose. We've got it. But yes, once again, we've got 3 Fridays, one in September, one in October, one in November, all conveniently 3 weeks apart. So you can all get your boosters and primary doses.
So who's that open to? Is that open to the entire
Everybody.
community?
Everyone in the community. We have not sent out the link yet because we are waiting for Fulton to go live with the new booster being available. So if anyone was to sign up right now, they wouldn't be able to sign up for the actual new booster. And so give us 2 more days, and by September 14th, it's supposed to be live for everybody. We will post it on social media, get it out to all of our families. And once again, it is for all community members, all students, all staff that would like to get either the booster, the vaccine, the whole deal.
With the state and federal government pulling back on funding, is this still covered? Do we
Yes.
know?
So there's no, the vaccine clinics are not a cost to the district nor to the patients that are getting their shots. So, and you don't have to, I mean, it is at Dana. There will be, good times with everyone there. But you're not at CVS or you're not at your own your own doctor, you're with the rest of the community. So be on the lookout for that once again, but we hope to see folks starting September 23rd.
That's quite a community builder too.
Yes.
It really is actually. It's ironically a very good opportunity.
Speaking of community building, I know WAF has played a part in that. Are they involved in this? Or
Yes, I'm gonna, I'll be reaching out. So we just got our dates kind of clarified, so I'm gonna reach out to WEF as well. So hopefully we have cookies and milk.
Few things that build community like.
Cookies and milk. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
7.4 from the Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services, Dr. Harvick.
Hi, good evening. There is a quiet power going on in our district with accountability, and it's not a flashy part of our department, but it's super important. So I want to bring to your attention tonight some good work that's going on. We have a number of accountability reports that go to inform our California dashboard. The California dashboard is an online venue where you can learn all about our district. But the new dashboard won't be published probably until late September, maybe October. We're not quite sure of the date yet. But one of those reports is called the California Longitudinal Pupil Accountability Data System, or CalPADS. People are more familiar with that term. And CalPADS requires reporting 3 times a year. So over the last year, they actually have gone through a giant revision, and this has caused a great delay in our reporting. What was due the end of June for CalPADS, which is our big wrap-up report, our final report, has been pushed out till this Friday. So you can imagine how large a revision this was, and how difficult it's been, both for the people at CalPADS and for school districts. Margarita Cisneros is our person who organizes CalPADS. She has a difficult job of mining all this information about our students and making sure it's accurate, and includes things like enrollment counts, EL services, course completion, a lot. So I just want to call attention to that. That's going in this Friday on time. Also, our local indicators were submitted last week. We brought those to you as part of our Lcaf report in June. And this is based on self-reflection, and we thank our principals for going through that self-reflection with their leadership staffs back in June. But we'll bring those have been submitted. They'll come out with the California dashboard as well. And then on a personal note, I just want to thank the board for renewal of my contract. It's such an honor to work here. This is 18 years of growing in Wiseburn and being a part of this. It's such an honor. And I want to thank the board, particularly Dr. Silvers, for the privilege of going on as your director or your assistant soup of Ed Services. So thank you so much.
The privilege is ours. Thank you.
I think you're tied to us.
Well,
There's no escape.
and I think it's 30 years because it was 15 years prior to the last 3 years for all the cabinet, and the last 3 years were also 15 years. I think so. And speaking of that, Dr. Silver.
So I'm gonna speak in a little bit on we have an agenda item coming up, and I'm gonna speak to the first, or I'm sorry, the unaudited actuals. I'll do a presentation on that. So majority of my time will be spent talking about our financial situation. But I do want to thank a few people. I mean, I just thought that the opening of school, and I would agree with Dr. Goldman that, when he shared that the Wiseburn Ed Foundation, their support there, as well as Connecta, being there just to support the welcome back, the barbecue, and thank you, Nisha, for your work on getting the Connecta squared away and bringing them, and Willis Chang, who's a part of WEF, just really instrumental in being able to have that event. And it was nice, and we didn't have to cook, and we didn't have to barbecue, we didn't smell, as we went into that. And so it was just a really nice event and a nice opportunity to be able to recognize our teachers of the year. We were able to recognize Lauren Shackstad, and then our 3 health clerks at the various school sites, Chio and Sarah and Chio, Sarah, and Jennifer. So it was really a nice opportunity for us to get there and to be able to join in celebration of those people for the good work that they've done. And so I just wanted to put that out there. I also want to thank Dr. Ingram. She's sitting here today. You know, Dr. Ingram in the interim has left the district office to help support Anza. She's still doing her work, but it's just to be another presence, an administrative presence in Anza. Just as we're all trying to spread out, and you know, it takes a village, and Monique has really stepped up to be a part of that village. So really appreciate you, Monique. And I know we oftentimes don't say that. And so I just want you to know you're really appreciated for that work that you do. So thank you to that. And we have our tech guys in the back there, Jason and Juan. You know, this doesn't happen without them, and it may seem easy, but the amount of prep that goes into setting this up for us so that we're able to have this meeting and conduct it is just really, really well done. Lastly, I want a special shout out to the Wiseman Faculty Association, all the teachers and staff that welcome students back that first day. I have to say, in the last 3 years, I don't know if my smile dissipated much in a few days after walking on campuses the first few days. Just the smiles, watching the parents walk their kids to their classroom. Who would have thought? You know, it seemed like never that parents were allowed to do that, but no, just the reopening of the gates and reopening of the doors and being able to do some of those things that we took for granted, really, frankly, we took for granted over the years and then didn't again, you know, with COVID, it really reminded us, what's important. So the welcoming environment that I saw at the classroom doors and the offices, you know, the parents, it just was amazing. And I'm still smiling because of it. So I just want to thank everybody that made that happen. You know, it was just amazing, fascinating, remarkable start to the school year. So thank you, everybody who's listening. That's it for me, Dr. Goldman. I'll share more. Yeah, thanks.
All right, we'll move on to our section 8 minutes, regular minutes 8-1 and 8-2 from June 23rd and June 27th respectively. A motion, please.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. For both? Yeah, indeed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nay. No, none, motion carries. Action items general, we'll start with 9.1 to adopt the resolution number 22/2305. This allows us to continue having remote meetings should we need them. I did have a question, Dr. Silver. First the motion, and then the question. Motion. Thank you. A second, please.
I'll take it.
Thank you, Joanne. My question is, it still says September 2022 through September 30th, 2022. I believe there was an extension. Are we supposed to use the same language?
My understanding is yes. I could check on the dates and just be sure. Wendy, do you know, do you have clarification? Oh, right.
I see. And we can't, I think we were going to look into an environment and see if we can do this for an extended period. No?
Yeah, the answer was not recommended.
Okay. We will do it every time and I won't keep belaboring if I ask.
That's all good. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. 9.2 and 9.3.
These are my favorite two agenda items every year.
No doubt. This is our legal services, a 2-year agreement, first specifying the utilization of Atkinson Andelson, and then 9.3, the spending authority limits to start the year.
I'll motion with the question.
And you're motioning 9.2 and 9.3?
Yes.
Thank you.
I will second.
Thank you. Your question.
Simple question. I noticed that 9.2, we're approving the contract from 22nd through September 30th, 24.
Right.
The next item though is just the spending for a year. Are we on 9.2? Are we going through September 2024 to lock in the rates?
The rates, that's
The rates are in 9.3. Are they shown in 9.3?
9.2.
9.2? Are the rates in
Rates are there.
9.2? I saw the rates.
Right. Yeah, it's 9.2 in the attachment there.
9.
Just more of a clarification.
Yeah, that's, thank you.
Yeah, this is you have to have legal representation and services. They have represented us well. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries 4-0. 9.7, adopt resolution 22/2306.
Wait.
It's 9.4.
4, 5, and 6.
Sorry. My apologies. Yes, 9.4, that should be alone. Approve Wiseman Faculty Association tentative agreement for 21 through 22 and 22 through 23. Motion, please.
A motion.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other comments?
One, if I
Please. Yes, please, please.
I don't know if the board has any, I don't want to disrupt.
Go ahead.
I just want to thank, the Wiseburn Faculty Association leadership for just the patience and grace as we went through this process. We were going through a rebuilding of our budget. We were kind of turning over every stone in our budget and preparing for the possibility to be able to make a generous offer. We believe is a really generous offer and, agreement. So we're just thankful for that. It doesn't always work this way in districts, and it's just as Dr. Goldman shared, the collaboration is critical to the work that we do. So thank you.
Yeah, and I want to build on what Blake said and thank the faculty association and our staff, all the folks that negotiated and then ended up voting on this language. I think it is representative of the collaboration and the teamwork that we hold so dear in this district across all the members of our teaching and learning community. Thanks to everyone for this. It's a 2-year agreement, which in these times feels unprecedented. And it's done with grace and enthusiasm and professionalism. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And I did have one question as to the agreement. It says July 1st, 2022 through July 30th, 2025. It seemed like 3 years to me.
No, because the school year crosses those dates. The school year starts in 22, right?
So the compensation settlement was for 21, 22 and 22, 23.
Right.
And then we will still continue negotiating, but compensation it does not need to be discussed till 23, 24. But the actual tentative agreement is until 2025.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's the entire contract that was basically renegotiated and then ratified. So we're bringing the entire contract to you, which of a piece of it is the salary schedule.
These are
the
the
salary
two
schedule.
items in addition. But
Correct.
this time we did the whole thing.
Correct.
Now
Yes.
I'm with you.
Yes,
This is
sir.
atypical. Now I'm on board. Thank you. That clarifies. Appreciate that. All in favor? Aye, enthusiastically. Any opposed? None. Now we can get to almost there. 9.5 and 9.6 ratify salary increase for non-represented classified employees and non-represented certificated employees respectively, if someone is so inclined to move.
I'll move for both, 9.5, 9.6.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Dr. Silvers, do you want to comment here, or Nisha?
You want to comment, Nisha? Or you want? I can. So you don't have to keep getting out. This basically extends the same agreement. It's part of just kind of a informal Me-Too clause, so that all of our administrators, non-represented employees, also get the same benefit.
We are being egalitarian or equitable rather across the board.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. 9.7 adopt resolution number, here we go, 22/2306, celebrate September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month. And we do have a resolution.
I'd love to make a motion on that. I will second.
Dr. Silver, about that, please.
Well, hello. Okay, I'll go ahead and read the resolution into the record. The Wiseburn Unified School District Resolution number 22/23.06. A resolution of the Wiseburn Unified School District proclaiming September 15th through October 15th, 2021 National Hispanic Heritage Month, also known as Latinx Heritage Month. To recognize National Hispanic Heritage Month, also known in more inclusive terms as Latinx Heritage Month, by honoring the histories, cultures, and contributions of Americans whose ancestors came from Mexico, the Caribbean, Central and South America, Spain, Brazil, and other mestizo or indigenous groups. Whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month, or Latinx Heritage Month, was first observed in 1968 under President Lyndon Johnson and was expanded to National Hispanic Heritage Month presented by President Ronald Reagan, and enacted into law as an annual proclamation in 1988 to month-long period starting September 15th And whereas this law celebrated Hispanic and Latinx Americans, the anniversaries of independence for Latin America, countries of the Latin American countries of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, while Mexico and Chile celebrated September 16th and 18th respectively. And whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month begins on September 15th and ends on October 15th. At the time of the proclamation designation, the term Hispanic was the term used by the U.S. Census to describe people of Spanish-speaking origin and ancestry to be more inclusive of multiple identities, Indigenous, Brazilian, and others. The district has titled this celebratory month Hispanic Heritage Month or Latinx Heritage Month. And whereas no matter the term one chooses to use, whether it be Latina, Latino, Latinx, Latine, or Chicano, Chicana, or Hispanic, we refer to people whose history is rich with those who positively influence and enrich our nation, our society, our community, our state, and our schools through their work, commitment to our community, deep value of culture, social justice, and liberty. And whereas throughout history and into current day, Latino, Latinx people have made significant contributions to fields such as education, government, science, law, medicine, entertainment, literature, sports, military, thereby enhancing and shaping the vibrancy of the United States with centuries-old traditions that reflect the multi-ethnic and multicultural customs of their communities, and including notables such as U.S. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, civil rights leader Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, Ellen Ochoa, first Latin NASA astronaut Dr. Miguel Cardona, U.S. Secretary of Education Xavier Becerra, U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services, and Lin-Manuel Miranda, artist. And whereas Latino or Latinx students are represented in the Wiseman Unified School District's 2022-2023 population, enriching the educational experience of all students and staff. And whereas Latinx employees contribute daily to the accomplishments and education of our youth, and the district celebrates and builds upon the strengths and knowledge that Latinx students and staff bring with them to school, including cultural perspective, lived experiences, practices, and languages. Further, the district supports the sustainment of heritage language and teaching practices that mirror lived experience and customs of our Latinx students. And whereas the Board of Education believes that each and every student is to be celebrated and appreciated for the distinct and vibrant contributions made by sharing cultures, language, ideas, beliefs, and values within a school community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wiseman Unified School Board of Education proclaims Hispanic Heritage Month, also known as Latinx Heritage Month, September 15th, October 15th, 2022. The board further urges all students and staff to observe this month by learning and celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of Americans whose ancestors came from Mexico, the Caribbean, Central and South America, Spain, Brazil, and other mestizo or indigenous groups adopted this 12th day of the month of September in 2022.
All in favor of adopting this resolution?
Aye.
Aye. Our district, our community, our world is enriched by diverse backgrounds. I'm glad we take this time to celebrate one of those backgrounds, and thank you to all of our community. Item 9.8, consideration of internal claim against the district. Motion, please.
I'll motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Action items, facilities. Jonathan, glad you're here. We may have some questions for you. We may have a motion here for any 10-1 individually or all of them as you see fit, and then we'll have questions on them together if you'd like.
I'd like to make a motion on 10-1 through 10-5.
Thank you, Roger. Need a second. Thank you, Nelson. Who is the Dr. Silvers? Is it you who would walk through these with us very quickly?
I can, sure.
Yeah, why don't you just do a very quick
Oh,
rundown?
okay, sure. And Jonathan, maybe I'll piggyback there too. So the first one, we have Anza Middle School and Dana that are going to serve as polling locations. So we bring in a security company And we pay for it up front, but then it ends up actually being fully reimbursed. And that's because each of those school sites basically have some sort of, if you use that public space NPR, there's actually direct entry into the school. So we place a security guard, you know, not 24/7, but during the open hours right there at that entry so that people can't get through.
And that's
public.
reimbursed by the city.
By LA County. Yes,
So the county.
yes. And we've done this historically and it's worked out great. 10.2 is actually the replacement of Dana Middle School basketball backboards. This has been just an ongoing issue. They're currently metal and rusty and actually start flaking and breaking and all of that. So the amount of work it takes not only to redo that every year and sand it just is becoming burdensome to the point where there's a better way. Let's just say that, you know, maybe 2007 there was a better way. But there's definitely other options out there, more expensive, durable, and they'll last a lot longer. So not have some of the unintended consequences of the rust. So that's 10.2. Moving to 10.3, the litter cat. I mean, feel free to ask Jonathan. I hope I get this, Jonathan. I know we've had an opportunity. Litter cat allows us to maintain our synthetic fields a little bit better. It allows us to spread the infill, but also at the same time, picking up any larger items. So it's like magic that it actually spreads out the infill, but picks up the other pieces. So I don't know exactly what the technology is, but I know it works.
Well, the Xanturfy.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's kind of like a vacuum. It has the bristles on top of it. It has a magnet strip running across. So if there's any metal particulates running across the turf or plastic bags that are left behind, water bottles, they just get swept right up. And the infills, you know, just placed back to where it's supposed to be. And then it also agitates the turf, which is good for the turf grooming. It just prolongs the life overall of our turf facility.
You've seen, is this the funds that were also kind of, oh, sorry, the funds that coexist with me, right? So
It is.
okay,
Yes. So it's not magic, right? All right, kind of. And then we're actually in partnership here and another reference to AYSO and our partner who Weisman Little League, but there is right along the backside of the Dana Middle School playground, right in between, if you were to see the eastern part of the playground in between the two fields, basically along the emergency pathway or the pathway there by the snack bar. There just wasn't enough seating behind each of the backstops, sorry. Oh, that was so difficult. Behind each of the backstops. So Weisman Little League actually proposed that they put these tables there. They're kind of like your normal, we actually have them over at 138th Street School, perforated, have just holes in them. It's a picnic table of sorts. And would allow for seating not only during these events for Weisman Little League and AYSO, but actually very, very beneficial to our students too at Dana. So to serve dual purpose, but this will actually be reimbursed by AYSO. So there's no cost to the district. And then, sorry, go ahead. Okay, and then moving down 10.5, approving the replacement there of our HVAC system at Dana Middle School. As Jonathan shared earlier, these things are just going down, you know, and in the heat and the pressure, some of these are, you know, hitting their 10th, 11th, 12th year in some places and even longer than that now, 15th, 16th year plus. And so we are starting to see the end of life on a lot of our units. Actually, at one point in the very, very near future, I'm going to actually come to the board and ask that we buy more of a surplus to have some on site because they're hard to come by too. So not only are we dealing with supply issues, but it'd be really important that we get out in front of that and actually acquire some of these units because we're going to need them and we should start a concerted effort to replace them. So anyway, that's more of a context. Yes, sir.
This one is only for one room, right? At the end of room 904, it's about $14,000.
Yes.
For just one.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a central plant, right?
Right.
We have package units throughout.
Right.
So that was gonna be my question.
Okay.
If we could look at just where are we as a district as a whole with all these package units?
Yeah.
Because it can be very expensive to replace them. So I want to make sure that we're like looking ahead for budgeting purposes as well, because this is just one for close to $14,000, right? And I don't know how many of these we have, but there's a lot. There's a lot of these throughout.
Inventory of our units.
Do you want to share some of that?
I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but for the 610 units, we may have about 15 units. We have close to 45 4-ton and 5-ton units. And we have about I would assume about 20 of the 3-ton units. So that's just off the top of my head. I have the numbers written down in my office and in the folder that we have each
Projected
HVAC unit.
lifespan on these and replacement
So
projection?
just industry standard lifetime is 15 years. And with 3 of our sites, we've exceeded that.
Across the board. Yeah, wow.
That's, you're talking 7,000 to 10,000 for a 3-ton, 4-ton.
It would, for replacement of a 3 for a 4-ton would be about 10 grand.
3 tons, probably 7.
And I believe the 5-ton is actually a little less expensive than the 6-ton, just because there's not a heating component inside of it. That's I guess a state mandate. So that's why the 6-ton is actually a little less than the 5-ton.
This is not a 1-to-1 relationship, 1 per room. What is the ratio?
It kind of is.
Oh, it's a-
Really?
Yeah,
It is, yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah,
Larger. I think some of like our larger spaces, well, obviously.
like the NPRs,
Right,
and gyms, things like that, they share.
Kitchen spaces.
Do COVID funds, are we able to use COVID funds for any of these replacements?
Not sure for the units themselves. I think that was just more so for the filtration.
Yeah, yeah. And I would share too, I think that there's some other funds too that we can look at. In my presentation today, I'll point out some of those areas. I mean, it's not gonna get us complete, but I mean, at least we can start planning, as Roger said, and we have had these conversations. So yes, I'm sorry too, and I didn't mean to confuse by saying we're gonna ask for a store. I meant down the road, we would like to probably come back to the board and bring in and maybe have some direction to be able to purchase maybe 5 or 6. Because as Jonathan shared, we do have some that are basically on paper clips and rubber bands to keep them together right now. And the amount of time and effort and daily attention that they're needing is pulling, one of his team members away. And just to basically band-aid certain items or certain units.
For the 6-ton package unit, I believe we're looking at about 3 to 4 weeks. And that's just because of people's connections that we're able to pull from larger orders that we're able to do that. And that's kind of a manufacturer or the vendor saying, hey, this is more so for a school. Do you mind losing a unit so that we can keep them up and running? But I have colleagues from different districts that had to put their HVAC projects on hold for a year because they were unable to get the units. So for a standard unit, I would say at least 3 months at least, and that's being hopeful.
Yeah, I may ask the board at one point if we can have some direction to move forward and maybe just because we don't know that exact number, but maybe into the tune of about maybe 60K. I don't know if there's some reticence there. I mean, I'm sure there is, but I guess I would ask that maybe you allow us to work within about a $60,000 budget to be able to get some of these units.
Bring us the thoughtful strategy and we'll
Yeah.
look at it.
Okay. A facilities meeting. Okay, yeah, great. Thanks. Cool.
Thank you.
And one other item we didn't talk about, I just want to mention the basketball backboards. You may not know from the information there, but after digging, they're clear. They're
Correct.
I forget the name of the material. Polycarbonate. And as a former not very good basketball player myself, there's nothing like playing. That's a different experience. That's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then again, as you saw, as the VersaCourt tiles, eventually we're gonna make our way through the site. So it just overall appearance of our play fields are gonna look really nice eventually.
That's great. All in favor of 10-1 through 10-5?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, moving to action items fiscal. This will be the second half of the meeting. 11-1 approved unaudited actual financial report for 21-22 school year. Motion. Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Nelson and Joanne respectively. Dr. Silvers.
All right, really happy to be able to share our financial situation with the board today as your superintendent / CBO. Not for long, right? Not for long. So as we go through, I just wanted to, I'm gonna have some thank yous too. I know it's really important to thank people that do a lot of this work. But I would like to share our unaudited actual report 21-22. We do bring this to the board in the middle of September every year. It really is going to validate, go to the next slide, Jason. It's really going to validate what came out in our estimated actuals that came to this board with the 2022-23 budget. And then what actually happens at our close of books. So we're able to close our books at the end of the year and reconcile all of our accounts and all of our spending. So really, it's important that we do this by September 15th. We met that deadline. The board of each school district has the authority and the responsibility to approve this document. Then we submit that to the LACO, to our superintendent, Dr. Eduardo, public instruction at LACO. And really what it takes a look at is where we ended the school year from the preceding year and it sets us up for our end fund balance the previous year. That's going to be our starting balance for the current year. Unaudited actuals are actually prepared in our SACS account, so they look like our average budget reports, which are long, but it is part of I guess you would call it a standard approach. And these financials do provide us as accurate information as we can have present to the board as we're moving into the next year, as we're in our 2022-23 school year. So taking a look here, I'm going to take us through our estimated actuals. Really, I'm going to focus more on the difference between what we brought to the board in 2021 estimated actuals and what we actually closed the books with. So you could take a look at the top line items. We'll go down really to that total revenue line, which is 1, 2, 3, about the 5th or 6th line down there. We could see it unaudited. We were looking at a 35 point, let's call it $0.7 million, $35.7 million. Over at our unaudited actuals, we looked at 36.68. So notice some of the differences. Oh, that's blocking there. Is there any way to move that? Sorry. Noticing some of the differences there just on our revenue side. We had adjustments in the student attendance. That was a minimal amount, 44,000 or so. That was really only 3 or 4 students at SLC. We had to make some corrections on. No real big deal there. Nothing alarming. Then we looked at our LACO COVID testing reimbursement. That's that second line federal. That's a federal revenue. And the bottom line for that was that we were able, with the support of Greg and Chelly, et cetera. I know Nisha played a role in this, is being able to identify every expenditure that we could submit to LACO and to the county to be able to get this grant. So that was a really it was a lot of work, but it ended up benefiting us. Obviously, there was a difference in about $86,000. Moving down there, we also saw a change in lottery funds. That was just from projected, what we projected at estimated actuals. So what we actually got in posed a difference that actually benefited us there as well. Looking at our parcel tax, our local revenue, that was actually the largest difference there. We saw an increase of about $850,000, a little bit more than $850,000. And a large part of that was due to redevelopment fees. Those come in from the county and it's posted by the county. So it's hard to actually, it's hard to predict or to estimate that. And it was to the good for us, you know, $350,000, $400,000, one check that made a big difference there. Obviously leading to that $850,000+ good. Moving down to total revenue, so you see about $1 million, 989,990,000 there. That was TAR benefit. Then let's move down to expenditures. You can go down the left-hand side, estimated actuals. We saw $65,000, you know, due to teacher extra duty assignments, subs. That was actually more than, you know, we actually spent more than what we had anticipated. But very minimal. So I'm going to go down to the actual expense line. So midway through the page there, when you look all in all at our budget, the difference between estimated actuals to our unaudited actuals at closing of the books was only $17,000, about close to $18,000. When you're looking at a $34 million budget, I mean, that is stellar work. I just have to thank, you know, the business office, Brianna, Chelly, Silka, you know, who works in every office. Really looking at Greg and Carolyn Larson, who works for our auditing firm, our accountant firm, and I Bailey. I mean, to come that close. I mean, I will say Carolyn shared with me on a phone call recently that in her 250 districts that she works with, she has never seen a budget come this close. So, you know, this is just a lot of really good work that put this together. So I can go through each line. I don't know that, you know, certainly I'm willing to answer that, but the bottom line is at the end of it all, we were about, you know, less than $20,000 off. So that was good work there.
That's less than 0.5%.
1%, yeah. Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
So, and it's good news. I mean, if you go down, I could just show another, you see the transfers in, transfers out. We actually didn't, there's $120,000 there. That was, we were budgeting that we were gonna have to support our child development fund a little bit, Fund 63. We didn't have to do that, so that 120 actually falls to the bottom line. So there was a lot of good at the end of this. And then you could kind of carry that down to the bottom line, which is our ending balance. So this is what's going to carry into our 2022-23 budget. You see 7.4 million. It really ended up being about call it 1.1, better than that at 8.5 million. So look pretty good.
I just want to say, maybe we found our math closest.
Yeah, right. Touche.
Well, the process that you all went through was incredibly arduous. Appreciation to all, but certainly educational.
Yes,
And
Yeah.
put us in a better
Absolutely.
position moving forward.
absolutely. I think we all agree to that.
Well, what this does too, is it means you can really manage the district. You have confidence in the decisions that you're making for the district when you know that your budget is correct. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's real exciting too, starting, you know, we were able to approve Jason Hasty today with his new, you know, in the new position, coming into a $17,000 difference is pretty good, you know, pretty good place to start. Yeah. So moving on to the next slide, just a couple other, is there any way to make that a little bigger, Jay? I'm sorry. Is that possible? Okay, it's not possible. So, okay, I'll speak to it. I'm gonna try and see it. So basically our, you see there, our ending fund balance, at estimated actual 7.4 million. We ended up at that 8.5 number I just shared. So we carried that over. So basically what I put together here was simply what we estimated and then what actually carried over. So if you look down, I mean, everything was pretty much, you know, in revolving cash, we brought across 7,500. In our stores, we actually estimated 20,000. Okay, it was 25,115. Our parcel tax, we did see, we were estimating a $1.4 million carryover. It really was $1.5 million. And the reason why we carried over more in our parcel tax this year is because we had all that one-time COVID money. So some of the money we had in one time offset some costs that would generally be out of the parcel tax. So it's not necessary that we won't use it in the future. We'll be budgeting for that. Then you see a bunch of either ELOP money that carried over, the 481,000 on the right. It was even across, and then the rest, a lot of that is special ed funding. So I'm going to skip the big bulk of that and then go down to our remaining balances. And so when you get to the bottom line, you know, we're estimating about $1.5 million I'm sorry, I'm going to one line above that, 3%. You see our 3% reserve. This is what we have to report to the county every year, or at every settlement, every year, every budget that we turn in, first interim, second interim, et cetera. We have 1.1 million basically, and it ended right around 1 million. I mean, you know, that's about our 1%, our 3% there. And then moving down to our remaining balance, that's unrestricted remaining balance above the 3%. So we were estimating about 1.5, we're about 2.2 million. So, you know, you give or take, you're talking about 9% in our unrestricted balance. And so that's good news. Good news to the district.
The board in almost all cases, we're in better position than we estimated.
Correct, absolutely. And generally when we're not, there's a reason for it. You know, we pretty much know and are able to pinpoint where that is. So if you go to this last slide, Jason. I know that this is what I thought you were talking about earlier, Dr. Goldman, but Dr. Goldman had asked if I could at least put a snapshot of our other funds and what the balance is in our other funds. So just to share, we have child nutrition, about $530,000 there. Our deferred maintenance accounts, 509. I think if Jonathan had some say in this, we would start spending some of this down, and rightfully so. I mean, I think this is a piece of the pie that we want to look at some of our HVAC systems and maybe spending some money there. So moving at our special reserve, non-capital outlay. So this is Fund 17. This is a general fund expense, or general fund, quasi general fund balance, 733,000. So, you're talking about another, 2.5% there as well. And then we have Fund 20 also. Theoretically, it's a general fund balance as well, another, 1 million, 3%. So when you start adding this up, our percent of reserves is really high, and we're right around what the board had asked. We had talked about getting to between 15 and 17%. We're right there. So I just want to share that at the end of all of this and at the end of the work, we're really falling at a point that we're really happy to share with the board today. Our GO bond has about 300,000 left in it. We have some capital facilities dollars. That's basically our not redevelopment. It's a developer fees. Thank you. Our developer fees. We were lucky enough to get some large checks. The Charger facility. We had Top Golf. So there were some income that we I don't want to say weren't expecting, but that was just good news to the district. We have our OPSC. Again, that's a facilities fund, about $80,000 there, and other enterprise fund. This is our childcare fund. I just want to be clear, this 2.4 million deficit, it's a net pension liability that's established by our auditor. So it's not a dollar for dollar. It's literally because it's a business account versus a government account, we actually have to show the liability. And so that liability is established by our auditor, and then we have to report it. So
If I may, like,
sure, of course.
some conversation on this, some late, because I questioned it as to what, and digging deep, this is a future liability.
Right.
This is not a number on our books.
Right.
This is not this is just, it's kind of a theoretical number.
It is.
More than a reality.
Absolutely.
But it has to exist due to the type of account that it is. So
Right.
it's there, but
Right.
it's not coming off our books. It's not even on our books.
No.
It's just a future potential liability.
Right.
Because of the type of account it is.
It's a not real number.
We'll tell you more detail if
Yeah.
you want, but that's the major point.
When you look dollar for dollar, that's what I showed in the previous slide, or maybe two previous slides ago, that we had budgeted 120,000 for Fund 63. That's this fund here. We actually didn't use it. So the account itself actually held, it held well. We were able to, our revenues and expenditures matched almost perfectly.
It's great to see this. This is very helpful. Thank you for doing this. It's also great to see, 1720 combined with our reserve. I think of just things like if we do need a trans in the future, or we wouldn't, because this helps our cash flow dramatically.
Right.
So this is just important to have for the security of our district.
Yeah.
Our organizational strength, our fifth pillar, we're talking about that here. Thank you.
Yeah. And I do want to share a last thing, Dr. Goldman, is we did just settle today. So we approved a settlement agreement with our Wiseman Faculty Association, and then hopefully we'll have the same very soon with classified employees as well. So as we start doing that, these numbers will go down certainly, and that's all been accounted for in our multi-year projections. We'll bring that back to the board at first interim with sort of the impact that'll have to our bottom line as well. But we did receive an email just moments before the board meeting from LACO that they also are in agreement with all the financial documents we submitted to them for our what's called AB 1200. That's our responsibility as a district when we settle with our bargaining units, that we submit this to the county. They review it for different readers and then they respond. So they've responded in favor of the district here. So good news all the way around.
Comments or questions from the board?
Thank you, Blake. I'm very impressed that you're both our CBO and our superintendent at the moment.
Dr. Hastings got some tough.
Yeah, I know.
Good
I
number.
know. I'm just
And
kidding.
you
He'll be
even
great.
got into the good end, so well done.
I did.
All right, is that it? That's the last slide, right there. Thank you. I know, I mean, I don't want to skip past this. I know I talked about Shelly and Greg, Silka. I just want to point them out again, Brianna and Candace. This team, when you look at that, that's it. And there's a lot of work that goes into buying, purchasing, same thing, accounting for that, and actually, sorry. It's really not the food services is not on there. Oh, food services is on there. Silka's doing food services, child. So I mean, really, when you start looking at this, it's a lot of functions that are happening with only 3 or 4 different people. So and Wendy's not on here. Wendy does all of these things. And so, and I mean that, really, this is a team effort, and I just want the board to know. I just wanted to point that out to the board today.
Thank you to the team. All in favor of approving our unaudited actual financial report? Aye. None opposed. 11.2, approve the resolution number 22/2307, again appropriations.
I like the motion if everyone's okay with that, 11.2 through 11.7. My colleagues are okay with that.
I'd like to second.
I'm good with that. I have some questions.
Please.
Can you help me understand, and I know I asked this question in email and you did reply to this, but I thought for purposes of our discussion this evening, maybe you can talk about the 11.6 and 11.7.
Oh, sure, of course. Actually, I have invited two very special guests. 11.6, I think Dr. Ingram is going to share, and then 11.7, Dr. Harbeck is going to give a little bit of guidance.
Push that. Yeah, there you go. It's great. It's on.
Good evening. So Care Solace, they call themselves a concierge. Their focus is on mental health and specifically connecting our families, our students, even our staff members with mental health services in the community. And so Care Solace provides our counselors with an opportunity to link families with mental health resources in the community. If perhaps a student, it's not appropriate for a student to receive school-based services, or maybe it's best for a student to have continuing services instead of breaking during summer break or spring break. Or perhaps there's a service that our school-based counseling services aren't able to provide for students. And we link Care Solace, we offer Care Solace as a service to help connect families. And so what Care Solace does is they ask a family what their needs are. So what are the mental health concerns? What geographical area? What type of insurance do they have? What are they looking for in a mental health clinician? And Care Solace goes out, does the work, finds service providers that match that list. And then they come back to the family and offer 2 to 5 different service providers. And then they help the family make appointments with those service providers and follow up with the family to say, how was your initial meeting? Were you able to connect with the service? And while Care Solace is connecting with the family, communicating with the family and the service providers in the community, they're also connecting with our team by providing a live dashboard, updating us on the number of connections that were actually made, the referrals that we made, because it can happen one of 2 ways. One, our counselors can help families connect with service providers, or if families are interested in keeping their confidentiality and their privacy, they're able to go directly to the Care Solace website and indicate that they're within our community, within our Wiseburn community. And so they would be able to connect with those service providers and receive the same type of service without our counselors knowing their names.
Is there any assessment of how successful any of these referring organizations are? Are they serving our community well? And how do we know?
Through that dashboard. So last year, I think up until May, our counseling team had made about 80 referrals. Almost 50 of those resulted in connections with services. We had 60 additional families connecting on their own. So that process where it's not through our counselors, but the families went to the Care Solace website on their own to seek services. We constantly were receiving feedback from families. A lot of them really appreciated the service. Even some of our own staff members participated or utilized it. And then I guess we received constructive criticism as well, where the most common constructive feedback that we received was if a service provider didn't match all of those items on a family's wish list. Maybe they weren't in the geographical area, or there wasn't a match with insurance provider. But I wouldn't say that that's a fault of Care Solace. They can only find what is available, right? And we know that our mental health practices and community agencies were impacted last year.
So through this dashboard, do we learn if someone's not happy with the service provider?
We don't learn that. The dashboard is data from Care Solace and the number of families that they've connected. We get the feedback usually from the relationships we have with the families and our own follow-up. And so we can see when a family doesn't connect. Our counselors can see when a family doesn't connect, and we can follow up with that family to find out kind of what happened and why.
Joanne's gonna answer the question.
Yes, it does. My question started with, did this agreement provide, in a sense, placement services, not the service itself?
That's
Which is exactly what it is. Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Hardy.
So Goguardian is a system we've had in place, I would say, for a number of years. I think actually Dr. Silvers was initiated at Dana, and then it spread to the district. So Goguardian is basically a suite of services, and we've chosen to adopt 3 of the options. And the first would be Goguardian Administrative, which is a web filtering system for all devices. This allows our tech team to block certain websites, open other websites. We restrict what happens with our kids online when in our system. We also chose Goguardian Teacher. This was at the request of our middle school. This is a classroom management system. If you've seen this in action, it's pretty telling that the students are on task. The teacher can see everybody's open window and what they're working on from their own computer. They can send a message to the student if they're off task, for instance. They can also walk around the room. But it allows them to stop it and to start it too in a lesson.
Can I just interject there with Goguardian Teacher as well? One of the benefits is students have a different sense of comfort as well, because they could actually communicate with teacher too in a way that's not raising my hand and asking a question. So what some of the teachers, qualitatively would say is that, student A was feeling uncomfortable to ask publicly about something, to call it a reading, a text, a piece of text, body of text. But they're much more comfortable to ask one-on-one in this more virtual setting. And so they were finding some of those connections between teacher and student and teacher happening more organically and in larger numbers. So that was also an addition. So safety in general and safe feelings in a classroom were also, encouraged through this program.
And we can see the usage too. We can see that this is happening in our classrooms. And the third in the suite is new this year, and that's the Goguardian Beacon Core. And this is our safety net with students as they go online. So throughout the year, counselors and principals and APs have access to these alerts. And the alerts come in should a student decide to go online or watch a video or even do a search on anything that might have to do with self-harm or harm to others. There's a variety of topics here that I won't go over, but it includes bullying and cyberbullying, which are real relevant now in our schools, in all schools. So this is a new product that actually they were piloting before we had interaction with it. We've been using those alerts, and they've broken it out as a separate entity now and a separate cost. So that's why you're seeing an increase in the cost. We feel this is important. We see this as an ongoing need. We even get alerts during the summer if students in summer school log on, or if anybody logs into our system from any device, even their parent's device, we can see if they go into our system. We don't see that if they use a separate system. So they have to use their login to get in through Google Drive or through the Google Suite. I hope that answers your questions. It's really a value to us.
Another thing that I noticed that's not obvious from this information that's provided is that the cost of this tool doubled from the last renewal period to this renewal period. And I'm guessing that part of that doubling is this new service.
It is, and I just want to point out too, the cost is divided over 3 years.
So I understand,
Right.
it's still double.
So the cost increased for student subscription for the administrative web filtering is about 49 cents a student. Increase for the Goguardian Teacher is 49 cents a student. But the real cost, the improvement, comes from the Beacon, which is $9.41 a student. So we are watching this, making sure it's worth the cost. I've spoken to our counselors. There's a dashboard too, where we can see what alerts have come in and who addressed them and how and what they did. So this is really for us a telling system, great safety option for all our sites.
Teachers are comfortable using it and understand how to use it.
Heavily used at the middle school, and the alerts are only touched by our counselors and our administrators.
Does this interface with our learning management system? It's like Canvas or whatever, I forget what we use. Google, I don't know what we have.
It's Google, the Google Suite, but it does. And if they're in Canvas, it's because they first have logged in through Google. It's all tied together. We would see anything they search. But you can't search through Canvas. That's directed by the teacher. Okay.
Thanks.
All in favor of 11.1 through 11.7?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, thank you. None opposed. Consent items, section 12. Motion, please.
The motion 12.1 through 12.6.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Nelson, Roger. Becker. Did you see this, John?
Can I see it?
Oh, you have a question?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, please.
Maybe we, do we wanna, what's the problem with us pulling 12.6, Nisha? And bringing that back at the next meeting? Is there anything that's so urgent that we don't? I was supposed to present to the board and I didn't.
I had a question that's not to be discussed in the public session.
We can bring it back at the next board meeting, but it is.
Can we go to the back room? And
We can go to close. Can we go to recess? We'll go to close and then we'll report out the close.
It's gonna take long.
Should we do that at the conclusion?
No, I think we do it now.
I would like to do it before.
All right.
Before I
Call a
vote.
brief recess and go to close.
Thanks.
We will reopen to our general session. We had before the board was items for consent 12.1 through 12.6. There was a question on 12.6. No action was taken on that, and we're opening now to discussion for all these items in open. Any comments or questions on 12.1 through 12.6?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Moving to section 13, action items personnel. Need motion, please.
The motion 13.1 through 13.3.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Second.
Thank you, Nelson and Joanne. This is that equity idea that we talked about earlier, matching.
I'm sorry, I said this. I was.
Oh, your mic.
I was behind a little bit, sorry. Yeah, this is equity. I know that, Eileen shared and Nisha both would be accounted for here.
All in favor of 13.1 through 13.3?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. We will have a second closed session for the board. However, we have a 15.1 master calendar that I'd like to put on the screen and Dr. Silvers to walk us through it. This is exciting. Anything with calendar in it, I'll get excited. I get excited about that.
I don't know if people were laughing because of the calendar, because there's so much on the calendar.
So this is certainly clear and simple to read.
Right. Well, we're gonna work on the simplicity and the clearness, or the clarity. But what you can see is each one of these blocks, so to speak, is, you can see these bold face areas, really board meetings. So you can see that first block there is today, shows that we're having presentations on unaudited actuals on the maintenance and operations. And then our GAN resolution, which the board adopted, and it may have some notes in the column just to kind of clarify that. This also has other important dates. So if you go down, you could take a look at, for instance, Thanksgiving break, but you could also look at where it talks about January 3rd to 13th. You can see that there's the Lcaf educational partner survey. So that's the time in the district that we'll be reaching out to our partners in preparation for preparing the Lcaf. You could also see there going down almost towards the end of that first page, January 31st. You can see the end of the second interim period. So there's major financial benchmarks that are indicated here that would then cause us to put together, would lead to us putting together a report that we would then bring to the board. And so trying to get all the major budget items, as well as some of the important presentations that we want to do throughout the year. We realize that there's some that happen every year. Why not get them on the calendar now and give people opportunities to plan, present, rehearse them, so they come to the board and the board is aware of it. So what I hope is this to be iterative, more iterative probably this year than in previous years. So maybe what we start with is that we look at Thursday, September 22nd, which is our next board meeting. What I plan to present at that board meeting is certain, so who come in and do a presentation on our achievement data that, assuming it's going to be public by then, we believe it will be, that she'll be able to come in and present that publicly to the board and to the community. We're also going to have an enrollment update by Dr. Harbeck and an employment update, staffing employment update by Dr. Dougal. So we'll have those 3 presentations that meeting. This will provide an opportunity if the board had any particular things that they wanted us to present. I did actually add at Dr. Goldman's request, King Consulting will come in and do a presentation on the dashboard. I know that there was conversation about a dashboard. And the dashboard is basically what projects have they done and are doing and what's the status. And so it gives us an opportunity to take a look at where we are with them. So they're going to actually be there. So I would add that came actually hot off the press as I was meeting with Dr. Goldman basically. And so I need to make sure that we get that on here. So that would be on here as well. So that's the plan, just to keep it forward and run this master list. Any questions, comments? I'm going to continue here. I would like to point out Thursday, December, so we are running into some challenges here in dates. So I want to just point out 12, we had a meeting scheduled for 12:15. Unfortunately, that's actually when we have to have, that's at first interim deadline. So yeah, so I think every year we run into this. So putting this on paper now actually was very helpful. So they actually asked if we can do that on the 14th. We can send a message out unless you all want. I mean, how would that be easier if we did send something out, or do you want to? Okay. So maybe, but just so you know the reason. Then also moving down to January, I highlighted those dates. We had a meeting set for 112 and 124. But unfortunately, due to the 124, Wendy, was that the conflict? Okay, there was a conflict in there, one of the days where I have the access superintendent symposium, so I have to move that. So it didn't make sense. It made more sense when you looked at the month to move the one, just split the difference basically. So instead of doing 2 that month, just cutting it in half, going 119. So I put that on there as an option. So we can send that email as well. That way.
Can we just real fast confirm when the board meeting dates are coming up? So we have another meeting on the 22nd.
Correct.
And then the next one after that is the 13th. And the 27th.
And then 27th.
Okay. And then November is what?
17, only one.
Okay. And then December will be one meeting?
December will be 14.
And you're gonna change the meeting notice. Okay. Thanks.
13th. Okay, so we'll have 3. Okay, so we can just run the meeting with 3.
Okay.
Are you okay, Dr. Goldman? with
Yeah.
13? Okay, perfect.
My consternation was I neglected to announce or to note that unfortunately Rebecca could not be with us tonight, and just wanted to make that announcement. She let us know. All right.
All right.
I did have a question on the calendar, but
Sure.
this is really the board calendar
Correct.
as to events. What we're not having, however, is things like back to school night and that is not in our agenda. So that, not that it should be on this calendar. I'm simply saying it's not referenced to remind us, to remind others in the that's one thing we always turn to in our agenda.
Wendy, could you bring up wiseburn.org?
No, I'm not suggesting we put it on.
No, I understand. No, but I'm actually gonna show, because this could be something that we just go to this. We do have that. We made sure to get the calendar on here, right? To the top, Wendy. Oh, there you go. So this is the master calendar for the whole district for the entire year, broken down by school, major events. Basically anything you need to know pretty much that happens in our district is on this calendar.
Great.
And this is readily accessible to all families. We posted it. It's user friendly. You want to click on one of those just to. And so it's actually in a more user friendly, then it's not just little boxes and asterisks and, parentheses. You did. So that's, so I guess can we go back, Wendy, just make sure we see what those next major, major days are, so we can get through September. We have back to school nights. On Wednesday, the district was actually invited as well to go to facilities. We're gonna be presenting on our facilities, so there's a conflict on that day, so we're gonna have to divide and conquer on Wednesday. On the 14th, yeah. Yes, 14th. Both of our two, we both have Ann's and Cabrillo's back to school night and 1:38 the following week.
Where does that exist? Where is this? On the way. This sheet.
Yes,
Oh, okay, cool.
so now let's navigate to it.
Go back. Here. Or this one. Okay.
That's kind of like the bottom.
Send the master calendar at least to Neil on the phone.
Sure.
That would be great.
Okay.
With the links to the page.
Word document, maybe, that was that.
The word doc?
Just down, just go down.
Oh,
There.
yeah, sure. Yeah, that's all the way at the bottom of the page. And right here is the link. For the calendars.
Okay. All right, okay. Okay.
It's nice.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, is there any other issues or items to address at this evening's meeting? Hearing none at 7:52, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.